A very good evening to you and welcome to Big Talk here on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. My name is Godwin Sunday. Right, let's delve into the conversation right away. Good evening and so good to have you join us this evening on Big Talk, Mr. Felix.
Good evening.
All right, so let's begin with the scorecard of Mr. President right now. A lot of people have come out to assess the President Bola Tinubu, but it's just 2 years. Some people will say it's too early to begin to throw the tantrums and throw the towel away, even in assessment of the president. But so far, so good. The president have come of age 2 years. It's a midterm assessment. But then, what will you tell us about the president and some of his achievements so far, even for this administration?
Well, it's been a very busy 2 years, and the president has really started off very strong. As we know, this president, on the day of his inauguration, made it clear he was not here to play. He came to tackle serious matters that beset our country, and that have beset our country for a very long time. On the one, he announced some flagship policies. First, to abolish the system of fuel subsidy. And then next, he announced a policy to unify the multiple foreign exchange rates. Now, for those who don't understand, these are two critical problems that have really held our country down for decades. Many presidents, came, served their terms and left, and did not have the political will to confront this twin, evil, basically, that were eating at the core of our economy. So when this president was elected and he got sworn in, he said, look, there's no point keeping these two elephants in the room. He had to confront them. He summoned the courage to confront these two problems. Now, naturally, this fuel subsidy, between the fuel subsidy, the multiple exchange rates of the Naira, and the need to defend the Naira with a hard-earned foreign exchange, there was nothing left. And of course, the obligation to service our debts, there was really nothing left for the government to run this country. At that time, government was spending well over 94% of the total of our revenue earnings to just, service debts, pay subsidy, and defend the Naira. With the result that, the country was really, effectively bankrupt and had been bankrupt for a very long time. So this president had to do what he had to do to give Nigeria that lease of life and to again begin to build back towards deepening the strength of the economy and giving Nigeria a fighting chance to stabilize and emerge from this economic quagmire that we find ourselves.
All right, very interesting so far. But then let's look at where the president was coming from and where we are right now. The first thing the president made, like you've rightly stated, was that subsidy was gone. What has been the impact of subsidy removal so far, even on Nigerian economy?
There's been, quite a huge impact of this policy decision. Now, first of all, the removal of fuel subsidy saved Nigeria all of the massive funds and resources that was going into that very dark system that was laden with, incredible, acts of corruption. Now, all that money saved were then, plowed back into real sector development. For example, as you know, monies that accrue to the federal government of Nigeria is shared amongst the three tiers of government, the federal government, the state, and the local governments. Now, if you talk to any governor, and I think it's public record, that most states under this president in the last 2 years are now receiving in allocation, sometimes 3 times, 4 times in some cases, maybe even 5 times what they were getting previously. So a lot of money has become available to the federal government, to the state governments and the local governments to really run their business and extend services, infrastructure, and grow their contribution, if you will, to our people. That's one repercussion. Another repercussion is that these two policies made it possible for Nigeria to begin to look inwards, because up until this president, we were simply just an import-dependent economy. We will import everything from toothpicks to tissue paper, because the value of our naira was artificially set. It was not dictated by the real value, by the market forces. It was set arbitrarily. The value was dictated. So that meant that naira was completely in a place where we didn't have to do anything. We just took money and bought forex and went out to import anything and everything. Now today, Nigeria, because of these policies, is now exporting more than we're importing. Imports have gone down, whereas exports of goods and services out of Nigeria has increased. You've seen again, a total revamping of our oil, sector, whereby today we are getting, quite some really incredible levels of investment to that sector, but also, increasing our productivity of crude oil and, meeting and exceeding the OPEC, that's the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, quota for Nigeria. For the first time in a long time, we now, are exporting more crude oil than we did before. Now, I think upwards of about 1.8 million barrels per day. Whereas at the turn of this administration, we were doing way less than 1 million barrels. So that's a significant improvement. You've also seen a major jump in Nigeria's, foreign reserves, effective reserves about over 23 billion. And, that's the net reserve, and the, big reserve of nearly 40 billion. That is remarkable, with a growth rate of nearly 4.6% in the last quarter of 2024. So look, everywhere you look, you see signs of a rebounding economy. It just shows that, those policies of this administration are beginning to bear fruit. And at the micro level, we are seeing now a downward slide in the price of essential goods and commodities. This is because, under this administration and under these policies, those who are in the productive areas, who are in the farm growing vegetables and tomatoes and food and rice, are being rewarded now more than they have ever been rewarded before. Because of the value, yes, inflation has gone up, but those in the productive sectors are seeing real reward for their economic output. So overall, the economy is really strengthening, and which is why a lot of the development agencies, whether it's the World Bank or the IMF or the African Development Bank, and just a few days ago, Moody's, which is a rating agency, has upgraded Nigeria, again, signaling increased confidence of international investors and domestic investors. Femi Otedola, just a few days ago, was, really, giving a fist, bump to the president, because just recently he, upped his investment in First Bank to upwards of 360 billion or so naira, and citing that his confidence level in the administration's policies, I think, has helped him to increase his, investments in First Bank, and I'm sure in other sectors as well. So, we're witnessing, as I said, a rebounding economy, and we're very, thankful for it.
Let's talk in terms of some of the ministers that are serving with the president at the moment. Well, during the APC National Summit, we observed that it was only 6 ministers or thereabout that were allowed to come present their scorecard even to the national APC stakeholders and party members that were in that auditorium at the banquet hall of the presidential villa in in the presidential villa here in Abuja. Now, let's look at all of this the ministers that are working with the president, about 42 of them, but only 6. Is it to say that a lot of ministers under the president are not working at the moment? Or the president just picked those ministers to just come x-ray and showcase what they've been able to do in terms of their own sector right now? Please enlighten us on this and a way of clarification.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, it doesn't mean that the ministers and their work, is not recognized. It's, of course, all the ministers are working hard to, I think, achieve the objectives of the renewed hope agenda of the president. Now, as you may recall, that was a one-day summit. And one day, of course, with the number of people who were there, logistically, it took some time for the meeting to settle in and get started. Well, on the agenda, we had several other ministers that were listed to speak and to make presentations at the summit. But because of time constraints, we couldn't get to them. And so, but that is not to say that only those who spoke were listed or were approved to speak. Many more were listed, but because of time, they couldn't. But again, we plan to have other summits, other engagements at which these ministers will have the opportunity to make public presentations of their work and the record of achievement in their ministries.
Well, looking at NELFund and some of the agencies right now from government, people will say that the average Nigerian, despite the fact that President Bola Tinubu means well for Nigeria, but the average Nigerian is not feeling the impact of his policies, his agenda and programs right now. But let's look at all of this and how it affects the average Nigerian. Are Nigerians to wait for, how soon should Nigerians wait to get a practical implementation of some of the policies that has been initiated by President Bola Tinubu, or are they already feeling the impact of this government?
Well, Nigerians are feeling, some of the impacts of the policies of this administration. Now, don't forget that these policies we're discussing were introduced to tackle problems that were created in our country over a generation or generations of leaders. The inaction of past leaders, of our country, I think all contributed to worsening the conditions of living for our people. Fuel subsidy ought to have been removed a long time ago. The very false foreign exchange regime that we had going on for decades in this country had no business in any modern economy where people expect others to come in and do business. There's nobody, no investor that will find amusing a situation where they bring in $1 million, dollars, and then officially get, value of say about 460 naira to $1, making it about 460 million, only for the bank manager or somebody to take that same money, round trip it without doing anything, without adding any value, basically turn it into 900 million, basically making about the same amount of money that the owner of the money, that the investor of the money, got. That was invidious. That was just wrong. And it was a complete disincentive to investment. So what I'm saying is that under these policies today, Nigerians are witnessing more investment in the real sector, in the service industry, and those who are in the agricultural, even subsistence agriculture, are making money. Nigerian farmers have not had it so good. Those who are tilling the soil for the first time in the history of our country are receiving commensurate reward in terms of the value, the income that they're getting for their money, which is why a lot of people now who were carrying their certificates around looking for paid employment, many of them are opting now to go grow cucumber and grow all kinds of crops just to cash in on the opportunities that the economy is opening. Now, look, when I said earlier that Nigeria today is exporting more than we're importing, what that means really is that many more Nigerians now are getting their hands on producing goods and services in value and earning money because the market is there, and we're no longer able to import as we used to because now Naira has found a relative, true value for itself in the marketplace. So you don't just rush to go import toothpick when you can make toothpick in your backyard to earn money and to make money. And then on the other levels of services, you mentioned NELFund. The government is very mindful, which is why there's a huge investment, social investment, providing cash transfers to indigent families, students who otherwise would not be able to study are able to access student loans to study. And for the first time in a long time, look, any student will tell you, students are more in school now than they're at home. Under this administration, we've not had one of those crippling ASU strikes that kept students at home more than they stayed in school. Is it about the natural gas, the CNG system, energy source for powering our vehicles that this government has also launched as an initiative? I know that CNG is not yet completely available to many Nigerians. We don't have the infrastructure like we have petrol stations in every corner, but that's because it's all new and it is very infrastructure investment heavy. So it takes time for individuals to decide to understand first the sector and to go into create these service stations that will help popularize and extend that energy source to more transporters, and then have that reduction influence on the price of transportation. So there's a whole lot that's going on that we're not even able to unpack in this short program.
Most definitely, Mr. Moka. Now let's talk about this whole endorsement, because the summit was a little bit characterized by quite a number of endorsements of Mr. President to come back for a second term. It started from the Progressive Governors Forum and through to the National Assembly, and then to a National Working Committee, which we saw that very exciting endorsement. But then, when endorsement of this magnitude, let me even find out from you first, what is the party's position on endorsement of this magnitude in 2 years, an endorsement for a rerun? And of course, most states right now, including Benue State, are taking a lead from this. Doesn't this negate the position of the All Progressive Congress rules and regulation?
No, an endorsement is not a system of primary election. No one has gone to primaries or handed anyone.
We saw the National Working Committee giving an endorsement for endorsing President Bola Tinubu to be the sole candidate for the All Progressive Congress, and Benue State has also taken a lead from that particular endorsement, giving Dr. Aisint Alia to be the sole administrator and sole candidate come 2027 election. So when you say it's not an endorsement and it's not, sorry, you said it's not an approval, it's not the primary election. Are we supposed to see another primary election come 2027?
Look, let me explain this.
All right, please.
What happened at the summit was an endorsement, as you called it. Now, an endorsement in that context is nothing more than a vote of confidence, passed on Mr. President. And a vote of confidence is something that anybody or group of people who are subscribers to the objectives of an association or an organization may deliver at any point, whether it's on the second day of the tenure of that administration or the individual involved. It doesn't matter. It's simply a vote of confidence. It's to say, look, so far we are happy with your efforts, and we signal our readiness, as this continues, to get stronger and produce more outcomes that are beneficial. But yes, we will stand with you, at the nick of time. Now, that is a normal democratic, activity. There's nothing special or extraordinary, really, about it, other than just that, it's a vote of confidence which members of an organization are entitled to give or make. Now, that does not mean that we will not have, a primary election. Primary election is a statutory process. It's a requirement for any party, political party that is registered in our country, to engage or conduct that activity, and to hand the ticket of the party to an individual to fly the flag of the party with respect to a particular office. That activity is not in any way changed or modified or eliminated by an endorsement or by a vote of confidence, as was done at the summit. When the time which is of course a schedule that INEC itself operates, when that time comes, we will conduct our primaries. And by the way, our constitution provides facilities for either a contested primary or or election or by consensus. So people who are in the district, who are within an electoral district, may decide, hey, all of us together we agree that we're going to push this person forward to run a race. Look, there's so many devices that are constitutional, that are democratic, that a party may follow to produce the candidate. So but it's too early, I think, for us to be having this conversation about tickets and primaries, because that time has not come. When the time comes, as a party, we will invoke our processes and instruments to deal with that. But we're not there yet.
All right, we're not there yet. It is. Let's look at the president's scorecard. Of course, the Renewed Hope vehicle has taken off and it's already running with speed, based on our own assessment. But when you look at the Renewed Hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu, one will say that this vision is, to a very large extent, the vision of only President Bola Tinubu right now, because it's not being fully utilized, it's not being actualized by some of his cabinet members. Perhaps it has not been properly interpreted or explained to cabinet members. This little wonder why the Renewed Hope agenda by the president has not been able to, it's not been felt largely by people from the grassroots. When you look at the people, when you look at the 6 geopolitical zones across Nigeria, in your own assessment, how has the Renewed Hope agenda fare? Let's take it from each of the geopolitical zone in your own assessment. Have the ministers, are the vehicles that are driving this Renewed Hope agenda, have they done magnificently well in your own assessment? Or should we begin to just oppose about the various achievements of the president and try to marry them up with some of the activities that has been done around the Renewed Hope agenda? But let's get your take generally on this.
I'm not sure I understand your question in reference to the ministers of the government. Now, the renewed agenda of the president is an agenda that is very central to the work of all of the ministers and departments of government. Everyone is at work implementing aspects of that agenda as it concerns their ministries and their departments. And when we say that the president is performing really strongly and that the 2-year record, is something to cheer about, we are referring to the totality of the output of the administration, including administrators and the different constituent departments and agencies of government. Mr. President is the head of government, and so yes, when we say the president has done well, we meaning that all of these component and constituent parts of government are doing well, implementing aspects of that agenda, whether it's in the area of the Ministry of Interior that has made our passports processes more efficient, or whether it's the Education Ministry that we spoke about earlier, where our students are getting a better deal, or for that matter, the drastic reform and real change and improvements in the health sector, led by Minister Pate, or whether it's the valiant efforts of our defense forces in the security sector. I mean, virtually every sector, you see new signs and new strides of progress, and that is attributed to, I think, not just a good understanding of the renewed commitment of the president, but also at the level of implementation, some well coordinated interventions that is producing the results that we're celebrating at midterm of this president. So I think that is on course, quite frankly, unless I missed any aspect of your question.
All right. One thing that has stood out for Nigerians in terms of their relationship with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that he is a listening president, and he listens a lot. Of course, we've seen this in the terms of some of his 40 achievements that he has been able to do, from coming from the NEL fund through to the 70,000 naira minimum wage increment, and also looking at the Lagos Calabar coastal highways and some of these. And we'll talk about the achievements of the president. Let's just go for this break, and we'll talk about some of the achievement of the president. And we want you to also, at that point, please help us to enumerate some of the things that the media has not been able to capture about the achievement of Mr. President so far, even as we begin to look at the scorecard. Please, viewers, go nowhere. The show continues in a moment. All right, welcome back. And just in case you're just joining us, this is Big Talk here on Global Television, and my name is Godwin Sunday. Of course, I'm still being joined by Felix Morka, the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressive Congress. And we're talking about some of the achievements of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, trying to x-ray his scorecard and trying to assess some of his policies and its impact on Nigerians. All right, welcome back, Mr. Felix Morka.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so let's talk about the achievements of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So far, it's been 40, and for some people, they will say that it is the most outstanding performance by any president in the country so far. But in your own assessment, what will you say about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's achievements so far, coming from the various 40 that has been itemized? One will say that President, be proud of this time, the All Progressive Congress is outdoing itself by achieving more. But I don't know what your take is on some of the president's achievement right now. Has he been able to surmount the records and the targets that have been set by the party for him to deliver on the renewed hope agenda? Please talk to us in this light, please.
Yes, the president has done a fantastic job in 2 years. Now, if you really understand the state of the economy, from before 2015, and then between 2015 and 2023, when this president was inaugurated, you will know that this president, is truly a president of progress. He's a president who is, not just bold and courageous, but he's determined to, take action, even when that action or the actions appear somewhat unpopular. Because, think about it. For those who busy themselves with criticizing the president for removing fuel subsidy, and because of the attendant transient cost of living, increase that has brought. Now, when you ask them, what exactly is the alternative? Now, don't forget that all of those who contested for the office of president in the last election, Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Peter Obi, and then the current president, all promised Nigerians to, remove, the system of fuel subsidy, and also to float the naira. So there was virtual consensus from, academics to economic experts to, even Nigerians, everyday people, that these systems had really brought Nigeria to its knees. It took courage for this president to tackle those problems like he's doing. And now you can see that on the economy is showing, the kind of degrees of life that it hasn't shown in decades. I mean, if you look at the data, it's massive what is going on. If you look at the forex system, the country is doing far better. There's now stability in in our foreign exchange system. Those who used to own jerry cans that they take to filling stations to spend days and weeks queuing for fuel because the product was in short supply, and that is becoming thing of the past. No one thinks about stocking petrol now because petrol is available every day. Yes, it's costlier because of the adjustments in the exchange rate of the naira, but it's the real value of the naira, and it's market reflective, and it's now predictable that this is where it is, and you can see that the price goes up and down because when crude oil prices fall internationally, the gains are transferred to consumers by reduction in pump price of petrol. So this is what happens in every country of the world, and it was just unsustainable for Nigerians. I know, look, again, our people are, they when they say things are more difficult now, you don't really blame them because truly, for years, we have become very dependent on this, really, terrible system of subsidies that enriched a few people and impoverished the rest of us. But when a people become dependent on something, it's not easy to wean them off of that dependency. And I give this really simple example. If you bring a friend or a relation to live in your house rent-free, even if he lives with you for 10 years without paying rent, the day you're going to ask that relation to move out and to go pay rent at market price of a new accommodation, look, all the 10 years of free support living in your house will appear that it was nothing. They feel the pain of going to pay rent as though they've not had anything for free from you. And sometimes some people even take it very badly. So it's normal that when people get off a dependent system, that it hurts. And Nigerians hurt. And I don't blame them. But this was constructed, it was a phantom life that was constructed over the years by successive leaders who didn't have the courage to make decisions that they needed to have made decades ago. So on every sector, from the road infrastructure, you referenced the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. We have other road, massive legacy road networks. Train systems. Again, it was under the APC administration that again the road train revolution began, and this president now is beginning to extend that massively to other sectors as well. So, I think that in power, for instance, we have hit over 6,000 megawatts. It's still not enough, obviously, but we must, I think, take note of where we were before this president came. 6,000 megawatts in the history of our country was almost unattainable. But today we're doing that, and power is more available now to so many areas of the country. It is, again, not perfect. I think that the government recognizes that more needs to be done to extend, energy to many more families, even in outlying districts, so that our people can convert that energy to, creative, resource to grow their personal economies and to, indirectly grow the national economy.
All right, so I'm trying to find out from you in terms of the President Bola Tinubu has been known even in Lagos State to be one entrepreneuring governor while he was a serving governor of Lagos. Right now, he is the president. But one thing most Nigerian youth are saying right now that they don't have access to funds, that they're being restricted. Their ideas is going down the drain because most of them cannot access the fund. Do you want to quickly react to this, what the president is doing, and how far he has been able to achieve in the provision of fund for young Nigerians to delve into the business world? I don't know if you want to quickly talk about this and some of his achievements in this regard.
Yes, there's quite a number of initiatives that this president has creatively introduced to support our young people and promote entrepreneurship. There's now a lot of soft, credit facilities available to our young people. Some of those funds are domiciled with the Bank of Industry, with a lot of other specialized funds of the government, and partnering with several state governments to deliver some of these services. And I think maybe there needs to be probably more extension of information about the sources and the facilities that are available to support young incubators, business incubators who are doing very well in startup, in tech, and other areas. There's quite a number of programs that are available for this. Maybe we just need to, I think, do more to provide public information so that our young people may be able to accept. But I can assure you that quite a good number of our young people are already benefiting and accessing some of these resources and helping themselves and those around them in business.
All right, let's talk about the next 2 years. It's going to be an interesting 2 years. Are we going to be having policies even from the presidents? And also, I know most of this policy aligned with the All Progressive Congress vision. Are we going to have more policies in the area of more strengthened security in order to protect most states, especially within the North Central geopolitical zone? Please, let's get your take on this in terms of security and the North Central part of Nigeria. And what does the future hold for them in terms of security coming from the All Progressive Congress?
Well, that's a very important question. Yes, I think we're hoping that in the next 2 years of the administration that there will be an even more massive uptake in the delivery of outcomes for our people across all of the sectors, including defense and national security. Look, this president, unlike anyone in his right mind, will understand the seriousness of security and the role that security plays in national economic development. When there's insecurity, really everything stops. But unfortunately, the people who seek to undermine our lives and peace and security and well-being are people who clearly are agents of evil, whether they're terrorists or bandits or other, criminals who, just run amok in the streets, doing damage. But I think that this president, more than any president in history, has really come out swinging in support of our armed forces. Not only has he, provided them more modern equipment and provided them systems of incentive to encourage them and motivate them to fight this war and defeat these terrorists. The president has again been the biggest cheerleader for our troops. And let me say this, that when we discuss national security and the importance of national security and the efforts of our military, we do not enough, I think, express gratitude to our troops who are in the front lines, taking fire and really fighting, taking this battle to these terrorists who are basically who operate in the shadow. As we know, this is asymmetric warfare. It's not your conventional warfare where it is army versus army and there are rules of engagement. With these, bandits and terrorists, there are no rules of engagement. They're just out to commit maximum, mass murder and do so opportunistically. They strike and then, disappear into the forests, into their strongholds, or even blend with the population, the same population that they have attacked. So it is not an easy war to conduct anywhere in the world, whether it's Nigeria or elsewhere. And, we are not alone in our experience of rising insecurity. This is, I think we've seen an upsurge in, violence, within our neighboring states. We know what's going on in some of the, Sahel region where, these people are supposed to be domiciled, but, come into Nigeria to strike because we are, the significant neighbor in this sub-region. So they strike, do damage, and then, disappear. But, we must continue to support and commend our troops for the, amazing work they're doing. And I think that at the summit we had, the National Security Advisor did, help us with some information with, nearly 14,000 terrorists neutralized, over the last 2 years, with, well over 17,000, nearly 18,000 arrested or, in custody, with about, 9,000 or nearly 10,000 hostages set free, nearly 13,000 items of weapons recovered. These are really incredible numbers. But the problem is still with us. But this is not like before, where these terrorists, in fact, could take territory. They are not able to do that because our military, security forces are denying them that oxygen to be able to take territory as they did under the watch of the PDP back then, when even Abuja was not spared. That orgy of violence. But today is a different day. Yes, we recognize that the problem remains, but it's certainly been contained far better than it was before. But that is not to say that Mr. President and those who are involved in the security sector are sitting on their hands now, because they are doubling their efforts, putting in more resources, more modern, tactical equipment to really, defeat terror and secure the peace so our people can return to their homes and return to the farm to help us grow food and help us build food security and where they can also control their lives in peace and security. That, I think, is the commitment of this president. And I think that over the next 2 years, we're going to see, hopefully, by the grace of God, we will see, I think a total dislodgement of these characters that are terrorizing our people.
All right, Mr. Moka, I want to say thank you so much for finding out time to be with us even here on Big Talk this evening. We want to appreciate you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, viewers, this is how far we can go on Big Talk today. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.